Hey, my name's Anne Bonney. I'm an international keynote speaker and an author of Get Over It. And best advice I ever got was shut up.
Shut up, Anne. That's the best advice you ever got. How was that great advice?
Dude,
I can hear this.
I talk too much.
So what, you heard this at like age 4? When did you hear this?
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I've heard it my whole life. And it was never that rude, but essentially that's what it is. And I needed to learn how to listen. I needed to learn how to edit. You know, you don't have to say everything that comes into your head. I learned late in life. And I also learned that in order to make comments land sometimes, you got to say them and shut it.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's great advice.
I agree.
That is great advice, right? So I teach salespeople that, right? Say it and then shut your mouth. Like, say the question, ask the question, and let it sit. Mm-hmm. Because some people aren't like you and I who just talk way too much.
Right.
Some people need process time. They need thoughtful time. They don't want to say the wrong thing, and they need to process it a little bit more in the right way, and that's okay. It's all right.
And they may be waiting for their turn to talk, and if you keep talking, they're never going to get their turn.
Yeah, that's a good reminder, right? So I suffer sometimes from that diarrhea of the mouth myself. So this should be entertaining, So we're going to talk today about change, which is really exciting. I'm super jacked about that, but Anne, you've never had to encounter any change, right? Everything has been smooth in your world?
Other than the pandemic, everything's been really the same for my whole life.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good, yeah. So just changes in the last 18 months, which I know is bullshit. So anyway, tell me about the biggest change other than the pandemic that's happened to you, dear.
Well, there have been a lot, but I think maybe perhaps the first biggest one was in second grade, spring of second grade. I skip home from school and my parents are both there. And I'm like, why is dad home? And they sit us down and they say, we're moving to Saudi Arabia. And I'm like, I have no idea what that means. Like, I'm 7, I don't know. And my dad worked for Marriott Hotels and he got a job with Marriott in Saudi. And so we moved from, Lake the Ozarks, Missouri, really green lush to the desert of Saudi Arabia, and thus began our international journey. So that was the first big one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a pretty good start for change. Yeah. Holy crap. So second grade. So like you said, though, you didn't really understand what that meant. But yet you knew that was likely something big. So how long were you there?
We were in Dhahran for a year. Then we moved to Riyadh. So we were in Saudi for 2 years. Then we moved to Egypt. You could see the pyramids out of my brother's bedroom window, which was so cool. And then we moved to Greece for 4 years and lived in Athens. You could see the Parthenon from the top of the hotel where we lived. And just an amazing way to grow up, because at 7, you don't know any different. It's just your life, And I remember getting letters from my Girl Scout troop like, do you ride camels to work? Do you have a bathroom? And I'm like, the heck, you guys, like, this isn't, we're not Bedouins. This is a normal life. Yes, we have a bathroom and I don't ride a camel to school. So, but it's just your life, and you just kind of learn to different people and different cultures, and it was awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's super fun. So, but I'm disappointed you didn't have a school camel that you got to ride to school every day. Because I had a school bus, right? I'm from northern Wisconsin, and there was no humping going on in our school bus. There might have been with the camels.
There was some humping. 2 cute little American kids, managers' kids, did get to babysit Silver, the baby camel, as a promotion outside of the front of the hotel for one weekend. So we did have a camel for a little while. And apparently my dad loved it and wanted to keep it, but my mom was like, we don't need a pet camel.
No, you don't need a pet camel. So that was the first time you also experienced disappointment, right? Because you didn't have a pet camel. Is that right?
Well, I didn't realize it was ever an option. It's a good thing to tell me, because I would have gone full hardcore press to try to get the camel.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So did you eventually get pets, or was that a common theme with your mom? She always say no pets, or what's up?
No, we had a dog when we lived in Minnesota, and then we had another dog when we lived in Missouri. And then when we went to Egypt, I asked my parents for a kitten, and they made jokes that if they maybe, dropped it, it always lands on its feet. And I started crying. So they said, yeah, get a cat. So we've had cats ever since. And I've had some dogs, and pets are part of the life.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So you've been introduced to change at an early age, but then as life goes on, right? I don't know. Do you think we get more resilient to change, or do you think we get more stuck in our ways?
I think it all depends. It depends on the person, the circumstances, the how successful the changes are. If you have a whole bunch of bad experiences with change, you're going to be like, no, I'm good. I'm good. Though it's interesting, during the pandemic, one of the questions in my change presentation is, what is your change tolerance? And recently I've been asking, what's your change tolerance? And how do you think your change tolerance has changed since February of 2020? And overwhelmingly, people are saying, I'm more resilient in change, because they were dropped into it and they were just had to figure it out. And people realize, I'm kind of a badass, I can figure this out and make it work. And change becomes a little less scary as we do more and more of it.
Ooh, so that's interesting that people, that they think they're more resilient now, that they're more open to change, but that change was forced upon them. How do we introduce that resiliency to change without injecting people with the coronavirus?
Without having to drop the globe into quarantine? Yeah, that's cool. It's the first piece, I think, is understanding the why. Why are we doing this, or why aren't we doing the old thing anymore? Why is this happening? And sometimes we don't know. Sometimes we can't explain it. Why can't we go back, or why are we moving forward? And when that why is compelling enough, it really motivates a little bit more resiliency and more charge towards that change.
Okay. Well, so that brings us back right to your first one there. You understood the why Dad's got a job. Okay. Well, that's an acceptable reason. I get that, right? So that's cool. So we figure out that why in our organization. Is there, Cialdini talks about persuasion. Is there a pre-changeation, if you will? Is there something we have to do before we get to the why? Do we have to set that up and kind of preview that or something?
I think there's two things that come to mind, especially when it comes to organizational change or moving people through change. First thing is trust. If I trust you, Phil, I'm going to say, all right, I don't know this StreamYard thing, but I'll do it. Okay, I trust you that this change is going to be a positive thing. So if we're building trust in that relationship, that's going to help people get more on board when they go right to resistance. And the second thing is communication and getting them involved in the decisions, if at all possible. Because then people feel like they were part of it and it wasn't just thrust upon them.
Okay. So that makes sense, right? So trust first, communicate second. Okay, get that, right? And get them involved in the decision naturally, right? You want buy-in? Right. People have to feel like, oh, they had a choice here. I have the power to say something. But what if we can't offer them a choice? What if we have to say, you know what, Anne? We're doing this, and this is just the way it is. I mean, is that where the why comes in, or what am I missing here?
That's where the why comes in. That's where listening, that's where shutting up comes in, Phil. That's where taking a minute to say, all right, here's what we're doing. Here's why. Here's all the information I can give you so you don't feel like you're on an island. And sometimes that information comes in follow-up. You don't give it all at once because some people are like, I got it. I don't care. Don't blast me with all the details. But some people want all those details so they can understand that you've thought it through and that, but then it's listening. It's saying, what challenges do you think you're going to have? We're going to have. They have a different perspective. They may have some ideas about why they think it won't work, that you might either be able to say, hey, you know what, we've thought about that and here's what we're doing. Or you might be able to say, oh crap, we didn't think about that. Let's take that into consideration. But if you can't involve them in that pre-conversation, involving them in a conversation and listening after will help them say, well, they heard me. And even though I don't like it, here we go. And then not everybody's going to get on board then either, but at least you'll get the majority, hopefully, on board.
Yeah. So if you can't involve them first, shut up and listen.
Yeah.
Right? Pay attention to them and see what they have, because perhaps they'll come up with some additional ways that it can be even a more palatable change, right?
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
I used to have complaining meetings with my team. You know, when a big change was announced, I'd come together and I was like, all right, guys, complain. Like, complain, get it all out. Let's do it. Because they're going to do it anyway, right? Give them a healthy outlet. I might learn something helpful to lead them or to prepare in preparation for the change.
Yeah. Well, yeah, complaining in public is way better than WhisperNet, right? Like the, psst, hey, Anne, you know, hey, this really sucks. Like, right? What the hell? Right. So I dig that. That's really, really good. Well, let's talk a little bit about change. Let's take a quick break here. I want to talk about one of my favorite tools is Vidyard. So, folks, you want to talk about change, right? You know that email isn't dead, but man, it sure can be boring. I know I've sent some boring ones, but let's jazz it up a little bit. Instead, let's try Vidyard. Let's record and send sales videos, connect with our prospects, let's move our open opportunities along, and let's close more deals. So how does this work? Let's go 3 ways, right? 1, it puts a face to your name with the video. Hold up a whiteboard. I've got one right next to me all the time. Record your face, your screen, or both for those first touch prospecting videos, follow up after a sales call, share product demos with those who can't be there, and a ton more. My favorite thing to do is repeat back a key takeaway that I learned on a call, right? Much like I'm doing with Anne here today. Share it back by writing it along with their name on the whiteboard so they know that video is just for them. Mm-hmm. Second, you got a sales team? Share your team's videos during the outreach tools they use every day. Pull together the best videos that they have and share those libraries your team has created in a curated playlist for each opportunity. Third, keep track of which opportunities are engaging with your videos so you can follow up the exact right time. Review these stats to tell you who's watching and for how long. Integrate that view data into your CRM and see how video drives your pipeline development for yourself and for your sales team. So what are you waiting for? Sign up for Vidyard free today by going to vidyard.com/PhilGerb. That's vidyard.com/PhilGerb. Now, like you, my friends at Vidyard cannot keep up with these promo codes. So instead, just sign up. Make it really easy. Go to vidyard.com/PhilGerb. Start using Vidyard completely free. And as a bonus, get their high conversion virtual sales playbook. Start using Vidyard to grow your pipeline and your business today. That's vidyard.com/PhilGerb. Change, Anne. Change.
You know, but Phil, can I say something to you real quick about Vidyard?
Yeah.
Video email has been a game changer for me.
Ooh, tell me how.
People do business with people they know, like, and trust. And I can communicate me so much better via video than some boring, wordy email. I love it. Sorry. Okay.
No, love that. No. So video's been a game changer. So talk to me a little bit about that, because that's a change, right? That's a big change.
Yeah.
If we think, when we met up, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, email was that was it, right? Or did we pick up the phone just? But now we got video email. So talk to me about how video with our friends at Vidyard or anywhere else is working for you.
Well, I mean, I'm a speaker. I'm a people buy me, which I had a hard time with when I first started, but I'm good with it now. But I can, again, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. If they see me on video, especially when they're asking for a virtual keynote, I can show how I can show up on virtual. And they're like, I like this lady. I can say funny things. I can make jokes. I can laugh at myself. And they get to know me better than reading an email in their own voice. It's
awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it, right? It gives them a chance to see our personality. I'm a big video email fan too. And let's talk about that change, right? How did you handle, or you said that you changed from I don't know, I don't want people to know me, to now, oh yeah, I do, and I want to show up. Tell me about that mental change and how that helped you.
So when I worked for corporate, when I had a corporate job, I worked for Under Armour for about 9 years. Then I worked for Les Mills, which is a group exercise company out of New Zealand. Then I worked for a large gym chain in New York City on their executive team. And when you work for somebody else, your identity is built around what your job is there and what you do for that organization. Plus, I was selling group exercise products. I was selling Under Armour tight t-shirts, and so when I left all of that, I thought, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to be fabulous. I got this. Woo, I'm me. And then I realized as I was sitting in the basement of my parents' house where I moved into when I first started my speaking business, I realized, who's me? Like, what am I selling here? What? And so that change in selling, I don't have a product anymore. I didn't have a book at the time. I didn't have a podcast. I didn't have any of that stuff. And so it was just me. Hire me to come and speak to your people. And so all of that focus on selling all of this created a need to figure out who this was. And that was one of the big shifts for me in my business, because it was just completely different and something I'd never done before.
Wow. So let's unpack that. The need to figure out who we are is, that's such a fundamental need. So what did you do to do that? I mean, was there a book you read or a course you took or a conversation maybe you had with a coach or a therapist or what?
I did all of those things and then ultimately figured it out in the shower one day. There's no magic pill, and it's funny because I just got back from a professional development weekend retreat thing. And we're talking about alignment. We're talking about full expression of ourselves, because as a speaker, I can show up a heck of a lot more authentically and more inspirationally if I'm talking from me, right? So for example, when I first started my business, I thought, well, I need to have my hair down. I need to look corporate. I need to look serious. That's a bunch of baloney. Phil, if anybody else knows, I'm not that serious. I've got good information. I've given you serious strategies in a really fun way. And so I'm going to show up a lot more fun if I'm me, and be okay with the hair and be okay with the energy and too much hands. That's me. And I'm a lot more fun that way. So if you don't like it, then you're not my client and I'm not your person, and that's fine. I can't make everybody happy, Phil. I'm not pizza.
Yeah. What kind of pizza, Anne, are you not? What's your favorite?
I'm not. Oh, wait a minute. What kind am I not? What is my favorite one?
Yeah. What's your favorite one?
Pineapple and mushroom.
Ooh, no meat, no ham, no meat?
No, I'm not big with meat on pizza, and I'm not a vegetarian. But I don't like, you were saying what pizza am I not? I was going to say pepperoni pizza because I don't know. But definitely pineapple.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good. That's good. So one of your big things here is about acceptance and engagement and productivity. Really important stuff. So as you're thinking about that, first, Stu Heineck says he loves those in-shower realization moments.
Right,
absolutely.
Stu, sometimes it's the only time you get peace and quiet to think.
Yeah, for sure, right? So, but talk to me about that acceptance, right? I think that starts with self-acceptance in order to get the idea out there. So talk to me a little bit about, now that we've gotten that self-acceptance, we've taken a shower and washed all that crap away, now how do we get the team to buy into that, and how do we help them?
You mean, so with that self-acceptance, I don't think that has a lot to do with your team. It does, I guess, and encouraging them to be themselves and to be able to express themselves and complain in a way that's acceptable and that's productive rather than just the water cooler talk. But I think that self-acceptance is important, and it's most difficult because there are so many things that society tells us from all of the different messages. I'm not saying society tells us because society's bad, but we get all these messages on what we should be. And it's really hard, and this is why it took me so long to figure out who Anne Bonney is. It is because there's so many things you want to be, and you feel like you need to be and should be. And it's kind of weeding out all of that stuff to say, okay, but what am I really? I'm a little silly. I'm a little bit blunt and bold. I try to be very tactful and emotionally intelligent, but I'm also a little bit, I'm going to say it, I might actually drop an F-bomb on accident every once in a while. And that, not that you need to be a potty mouth to be authentic, but thinking about how we can fully express what we actually are comfortable with and what actually brings out ourselves rather than what we should be. Taking off the mask and saying, who am I really, and how do I show up in my most authentic way? If you want to build trust with your team, showing up authentically, they're not going to notice that there's a difference, but subconsciously they're going to, they're not going to get that vibe of there's something that's being hidden here, you know? Yeah, and it's hard. It takes a lot of thought, you know, and not thought, and just kind of like what feels good.
Yeah. That's so interesting. You talk about authenticity and how that leads to more trust and communication. And I would say, well, just like you said, though people don't get it, right? It's not like it pop them in the head
Right.
that maybe something's different. They definitely feel the energy shift. They definitely see that you're not pausing as long over every decision. I mean, certainly it's okay to be mindful and thoughtful about big decisions.
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes you just have to flow, and you have to be real, and you have to give people what you have. And understanding, what am I really? I think that's such a great question to get people to help trust and communicate with you.
Yeah. And the other piece is letting them be them. Understanding that people on your team are going to be very different than you. They're going to make decisions differently. They're going to, you know, like I was coaching a CEO yesterday, and he said, I just want people to jump out of bed and attack the day. And I'm like, not everybody's going to do it the way you do it. And that's okay. Tell them what outcome they want and how they attack that. As long as they hit that end result, good to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was just coaching a young salesperson just before we got on, and while I told him, hey, here's the process that we need to go through to make sure the sale happens, to make sure everything gets completed, I want you to inject your personality, show up with your full self on this. And I think letting people be themselves is super, super important. So as we think about that, Anne, and as we talk about change, those are big changes, right? Those are big changes. First, we got to trust ourselves. We got to figure out who am I really, and then let our team be them. But as we're
trust
managing,
your team.
Yeah, and trust your team for sure, right? So how do we manage up though, right? If we are finally coming forth as who we're meant to be, and our team is really coming forth in who they're meant to be, how do we manage up if our leader is resistant like your CEO was and said, "Hey, I want everybody to be just like me," right? So how do we change that? How do we help that?
It's identifying what the need is and how it impacts the business, and approaching your higher, person with the reason why whatever change is necessary is necessary. It's not just going in and saying you need to do things differently, because as we think through the process of saying what would be different if this characteristic or this behavior of this manager was different. Once we've thought that through, we might realize, you know what, they're doing it a different way than I'm doing it, but it's still okay. Like, it's only going to make me more comfortable rather than making the organization more successful. And so that the first thing is to look inside yourself and say, why do I want that? And then if it is still something that's going to help you achieve your organizational goals, help you create projects faster, help you build a stronger team, then it's learning how to communicate effectively and assertively. And by assertive, I don't mean aggressive. I mean assertive, bold, and confidently self-assured. Saying, I belong in this conversation and so do you. I want to enter into a collaborative problem-solving conversation rather than you're doing something wrong. So you learn how to communicate effectively, and hopefully you'll be heard. With some people, you're not going to be. Unfortunately, the beauty of human interaction is you never know how the other person's going to respond, and you can't control it. But learning how to communicate effectively can help you have the best chance at a good result.
Awesome. Being better at communicating is something we all can be. You started up by saying, sometimes we need to shut up. We need to listen. So it's interesting that you say that when the title of your book is Get Over It, which seems like a punch in the face of, hey, change is going to happen, sucker. Get over it. So give me one more or two more great tips about how we can better get over it.
And it's so funny, Phil, because I got a negative review one time from somebody who's like, it's really rude to say get over it. And so I kind of thought about changing the title of the book to Let's Get Over It, or adding a foreword that says, hey, just so you know, I'm not telling you need to get over it. I'm giving you tips on how you can, because wouldn't it be nice to get over it? So it's funny that you should say that. So 2 other tips to help get over it. One of the things that I love to say is that action shrivels anxiety. So often we get caught up in thinking about it and planning it and worrying about it and thinking about all the bad things that are going to happen. And we kind of swirl around in this anxious negativity, when stepping forward and saying, okay, what can I do? We're in a pandemic. We're in quarantine. Not right now, thank goodness. But back in March last year, we're in a pandemic. I can't go see anybody. What can we do? And by taking action, you start to feel like you have a little bit more control. You have a little bit more resilience. You have a little bit more opportunity to do something about it. And it feels a heck of a lot better than continuing to swirl. It does take a little emotional intelligence and a little oomph, but that even a little step, just do something. And that will help move you from victim to actor in improving the situation. And then the other one is, you don't look back and see how far you've come. This is one of my favorite perseverance tips. And I don't remember what tip number it is and get over it, but it's really important, as you're charging towards change and all the difficulties and all the challenges and all the, things you have to learn and all that, it's easy to forget how much you have learned, how far you have come, all the things you have done, and all the things that have been successful. So make sure, as you're persevering through changes with your team or just with yourself, to look back and say, who was I a year ago? What have I done? What have I achieved? What have I overcome? Holy crap, I'm a badass. And that's going to just help you have the energy to continue moving forward.
Wow. Such great advice. Such great advice. Such easy, simple things to do, but often things we don't do. So we've got some feedback here. Ben says loves your energy and your enthusiasm. Me too.
Thanks, Ben.
Yep. Assertive does not equal aggressive, and he says, Anne, stick with get over it.
Yeah.
Right? Stick with it. Good
Thank
stuff,
you.
Right? Yeah. So be strong, be wonderful, and have that energy. So, Anne, if people want to get to know you more, of course they can go to your website at annebonney.com for sure. But if there was a favorite social media place, where would you direct them? Where can they get more of the insight and inspiration that is you?
LinkedIn's probably the best place. You find me at Anne Bonney on LinkedIn. So that's probably the best place. You'll get updates on my podcast, updates on books. Sometimes I throw in my weekly email blast there just to give people a little bit of inspiration on how to continue building their influence so they can have better results with the people around them and ultimately have a better life.
All right. Well, let's stop getting over it and start taking action. I love that you said action shrivels anxiety. Such great inspiration, such a great thing to remember. So, folks, if you're looking to get started, just take an action. Listen to what Anne had to say. It'll help you get over it. It'll help you be stronger, and it'll help you build trust and communicate even more effectively. Anne, you're a gem. Thanks so much for spending some time with me today. I loved it. You're the best.
Thanks, Bill. You're the best, too. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.